The following video is not made for kids. Viewer discretion is advised. Hello to my subscribers, this is the TFangy coming to you with a review of a exclusive Transformers figure that I honestly was afraid I wasn't going to get it, but thankfully a few months ago it appeared on eBay at a decent price, so we can finally do a review on the Transformers. Here in the United States, it's a Target exclusive. This is the Buzzworthy Bumblebee Transformers Legacy Autobot Silverstreak. So yes, even though Silverstreak has been released in the Buzzworthy Bumblebee line, he is still technically a part of the Transformers Legacy line, as evidenced by the Legacy logo being on the box. And one thing that I'm excited about with Silverstreak is that he is based on the blue Diaclone version of the Transformers character named Bluestreak. Now, just a quick history lesson, but during the 2000s and even into the first half of the decade of the 2010s, Hasbro lost the registered trademark to Bluestreak's original name, and he was known as Silverstreak. So if you go to the Transformers Wikipedia and you look up Bluestreak and Silverstreak, you will see action figures of Bluestreak that have Silverstreak's name on them. So starting here with the Buzzworthy Bumblebee line, the Transformers Legacy line, and aka the War vs. Cybertron trilogy, Bluestreak and Silverstreak are now, instead of being different names of the same character, they are now two distinct characters from each other. And since Bluestreak is almost entirely silver and Silverstreak is almost entirely blue, you can now make a joke that their names have been reversed from their paint jobs. Bluestreak got his name due to the metaphor, talking up a blue streak means you say a lot of words in a very short amount of time. So Silverstreak is the fifth use of the Transformers Earthrise Datsun Autobot mold. It was actually originally used on Earthrise Smokescreen. It was then repainted and retooled into Prowl, Bluestreak, and then Decepticon Barricade. So Silverstreak's the fifth version of this mold that's been released, and oddly enough, I will show it when we get Bluestreak out of his box and take a close look at him in robot mode. I just called him Bluestreak, so I apologize if I call Silverstreak Bluestreak and I get him and Bluestreak that get their names mixed up. I explained a moment ago the reason why, due to them having once been different names of the same character. But despite being the fifth version of this mold, Silverstreak and every version of this mold, not one of them is a direct repaint of each other. They each have a different part that makes them distinguished from one another, and so I'll show that off in robot mode. But yes, here for the Buzzworthy Bumblebee line, just like the other handful of Transformers action figures that have been released in the Buzzworthy Bumblebee line, here on the side of the box you've got some artwork of Silverstreak in his robot mode, the authentic Transformers logo, the Transformers Legacy logo. So, the Transformers Legacy line, in my previous review of the Generation Select lift ticket figure, I had shown that the Generation Select figures being released in the current year of 2022, they are part of the Legacy line, and it appears the new Buzzworthy Bumblebee figures are part of the Legacy line as well. So Hasbro and Takara Tomy have basically mixed together these lines together, and so the action figures being released in three different lines of Legacy, Generation Selects, and now Buzzworthy Bumblebee. All these action figures are part of the same line, and so it's interesting to see that happen. So here on this side of the box, you've got some artwork for the Buzzworthy line. You've got Generation 1 RC, you've got Generation 1 Mirage, you've got Bumblebee, of course, and then you've got Optimus Prime. I believe RC, that's her artwork from the IDW's comic books, and then Mirage is based off... Actually, that's that image of RC is from her box art from the Transformers Earthrise line back in 2020. Mirage is based off of his appearance in IDW's comic books. Bumblebee is, of course, based off of that image of his faces from the Transformers Earth Wars mobile game, and of course the image of Optimus Prime here is from the Transformers Cyberverse series. So, similar to Transformers Generation Selects, the Buzzworthy Bumblebee line is being used to release Transformers characters from different Transformers series that are affiliated with Bumblebee. Silverstreak, in my opinion, he's not entirely affiliated with Bumblebee, but it's Hasbro and Takara Tomy's way of saying that the Transformers characters from the Generation 1 series, the comic books, the mobile games, and the more recent cartoon series, that they all conglomerating into the Transformers Buzzworthy Bumblebee line. Here on the back of the box, you've got Silverstreak in his robot mode and his vehicle mode. He transforms back and forth between both modes in 15 steps. And one of the reasons why I was excited to get Silverstreak, despite the stupid open window packaging on here, I have been wanting to get a action figure based off of the blue Diaclone version of Bluestreak for some time now. And the fact that Hasbro and Takara Tomy have made the blue Diaclone version of Bluestreak the brand new individual character of Silverstreak, that is a thumbs up for me to Hasbro and Takara Tomy for that decision, because I am wholeheartedly enjoying having this Transformers figure in my collection. So without further delay, let's get Silverstreak out of the box and take a close look at him in his robot mode. Alright, and so here is Silverstreak out of the box and transformed into his robot mode. So if you already have any of the previous 4 releases of the Transformers Earthrise Datsun mold, pretty much what you see is what you get. The only significant difference that distinguishes Silverstreak from the other versions of this mold is his paint job. I really enjoy this nice navy blue that makes up a majority of his paint job, and the white is a nice color that breaks it up and prevents Silverstreak from looking completely monotonous. I love the silver paint here on his robot mode chest as well, which becomes the hood of his vehicle mode, and the yellow head crest. That really is a nice touch out there. It's a nice callback to it. Now, Silverstreak, in addition to his name having once been a registered trademark for Bluestreak, he does have somewhat of an interesting history in that in the original 1984 product catalog advertising the first year group of Autobot Transformers action figures, when the product photo was taken of Bluestreak, rather than having the mostly silver paint job that Silverstreak's got the names mixed up again. When Hasbro took product photos of all the 1984 Autobots, Bluestreak, in his product photo, instead of having the mostly silver paint job that his G1 action figure had, and also the paint job that he had in the G1 cartoon series, the photo taken of the action figure Bluestreak had this paint job. And apparently, shortly after that photograph was taken, the mostly blue Diaclone version of the Datsun mold, it was apparently lost, and so that's one of the urban myths or urban legends about Generation 1 Bluestreak is what happened to the blue action figure that Hasbro took product photos of for the original 1984 Transformers product catalog. So, yeah, that is a piece of lost Transformers. That's one of the rarest Transformers action figures out there in the world, is an original blue version of Generation 1 Bluestreak. So, now that it's been the separate, distinguished character of Silverstreak, if anyone finds an original Transformers Generation 1 Silverstreak figure, then hold on to it, because you are holding on to one of the crown jewels, one of the holy grails of the Transformers action figures, which is the blue version of this, the original version of this mold done in the blue paint job. So for articulation, Silverstreak, it's the same as the other Earthrise Datsuns. You got a waist swivel that rotates 360 degrees left and right. It's a little loose on my figure. The head does rotate left and right on a ball joint, but on this copy it's very stiff, so I'm not even going to rotate it. I'm not kidding. I'm nervous of breaking it right there. The arms can go up this far. Alright, but you do have to try and be careful not to unlock the transformation joint that keeps the shoulder blade attached to the sides of the torso. You got a swivel joint going to the bicep, hinged elbows, wrist swivels. And one nice thing about the wrist swivels is that they didn't have to include them on there, since you don't really have to rotate the hands when you transform this figure from robot mode to vehicle mode. Legs can go out this far, or at the hips. They can go forwards that much. They can go backwards. Not as far, not so far, because of the square shape of them. You got swivel joints at the thighs, hinge joints at the knees, which I do recommend. Out of all the joints on this figure, the joints to be most careful with are the knee joints here, because the entire lower half of the legs on every version of this mold. It's made out of clear plastic, as you can see here by Silverstreak's shins. And it's all clear plastic. So I highly recommend you be careful with the hinge joints at the knees. And then you've got for the feet, they can go up and down. Again, up and down, and then you have ankle rockers. But yeah, so that's pretty much it for articulation there with Silverstreak. And now for a special size comparison in robot mode, here is Silverstreak surrounded by every version of the Earthrise Datsuns. We got Earthrise Smokescreen, we've got Earthrise Prowl, who is released as an Amazon exclusive in a 2-pack with Ironhide. We got Earthrise Bluestreak, who is released as an exclusive at Walgreens. And we got Barricade, who was actually released in the Amazon exclusive Galactic Odyssey collection in a 2-pack with Punch Counter Punch. So even though this mold has been used 5 times, the first version of the mold that was released, which is Earthrise Smokescreen, it's the only version of the mold that's been released at mass retail, so this version of the mold has been one of the more difficult versions for most Transformers fans and collectors to find. In terms of ease of being able to find these figures, Smokescreen was the easiest for Transformers fans to find, and then Bluestreak and Silverstreak are tied with being the second easiest version of this mold to get. Barricade was the third easiest, second most hard to find version of this mold, and the hardest one to find has been Prowl due to him being released as a Amazon exclusive with Ironhide. Now, I said at the beginning of the video that each version of this mold has parts that separate them from each other, and that no 2 of these 5 figures are straight up repaints of each other, and what prevents Silverstreak from being a straight up repaint of Bluestreak, it's kind of hard to tell due to the colors on them, but there's 2 versions of this. There's 2 different versions of this mold. Well, there's 2 separate parts of this mold. There's 2 variants of 2 parts of this mold is the correct grammar I was looking for. And the first part that's different is the robot mode chest, and the second part is the head sculpt. Now for Silverstreak, he has the same head sculpt that's used on Prowl and Bluestreak. However, he has the robot mode chest, which is the front bumper of the car mode that's used on Smokescreen and Barricade. The robot mode chest that's used on Prowl and Bluestreak is different from Silverstreak, Smokescreen, and Barricade. It's much thinner and flatter. And that is accurate to the original Generation 1 action figures. The Smokescreen version of this mold, the original Generation 1 version, had a much thicker front bumper due to Smokescreen being a Datsun that was modified into a race car. And so that's what Silverstreak and Barricade have, are these slightly larger robot mode chests to distinguish them from Prowl and Bluestreak. But what prevents Silverstreak from also not being a straight up repaint of Smokescreen is that, again, as I mentioned a moment ago, Smokescreen and Barricade have different sculpted heads from Prowl, Bluestreak, and now Silverstreak. The head sculpt used on Smokescreen is based more off of his appearance from the Generation 1 cartoon, which has a head sculpt that's more accurate to the Generation 1 action figure. Barricade has the same head sculpt, but the head sculpts used on Prowl, Bluestreak, and Silverstreak are the ones that Sunbow Studios created for the Transformers Generation 1 cartoon series, which the chin isn't as pointed down, and the head doesn't look as boxy. Actually, it's more of a dome-shaped helmet with the head crest out in front. So yes, just to let you guys all know, these figures, none of them are straight-up repaints of each other. They all have 2 different head sculpts or different hood sections of the vehicle to distinguish them from each other. So I think that's really enjoyable that Hasbro and Takara have used a mold 5 different times, and no 2 versions of the mold are exactly the same as each other. And of course, one last thing I will mention is that Prowl and Barricade, being police cars, they have light bar sirens on the roofs of their vehicle modes, while Silverstreak, Prowl, and Smokescreen, and Bluestreak do not have those on there. So yes, I do like that each version of this mold each one is unique. They have different versions of the different parts that make them each unique robots. So I really enjoy that. So now that I've pointed that out, let's get Silverstreak transformed into his alt mode, wrap up the review, and I'll share my final thoughts on this latest member of the Autobot Datsun Squad, as I call it. Alright, and here is Silverstreak transformed into his alt mode. Here he is surrounded by his mold mates, Earthrise Smokescreen, Earthrise Prowl, Earthrise Bluestreak, and Earthrise Barricade. So yes, Silverstreak is pretty impressive looking. Here he is with all of his accessory pieces. On top he's got the shoulder cannons and the larger laser gun. There's his Autobot logo. Kind of wish they would have put a white background on there, but I guess that was Hasbro and Takara way of distinguishing Silverstreak and Bluestreak from each other. So here's a much closer look at the 2 different front bumpers that I was trying to point out in robot mode. Prowl and Bluestreak have the smaller bumper that is more streamlined, while the Silverstreak has the thicker bumper that's also used on Smokescreen and Barricade. And it is quite enjoyable. I'm able to finally have a version of the blue Diaclone version of Bluestreak now in my collection. So yes, I do wholeheartedly enjoy having Silverstreak. I do enjoy having all these figures here. Silverstreak does roll pretty well. He does roll much better than some of the other Datsuns. The one that has the most trouble rolling out of my copies is Bluestreak, and that's because for some reason one of his robot mode arms that forms the front wheel, it doesn't like to sit flush against the ground. But yes, I do wholeheartedly enjoy having all of these Transformers figures here. So do I recommend getting Silverstreak and adding him to your collection? Absolutely I do. You cannot go wrong having Silverstreak in your Transformers collection, and it is nice that Hasbro and Takara were able to use the Earthrise Datsun mold old for a 5th time and still make it distinguished from all the other versions of the mold. But as I said, do be careful when you transform from this figure and when you use the robot mode knee joints due to the entire lower legs being made out of clear plastic. Fortunately, Silverstreak is made out of a darker shade of plastic similar to Earthrise Smokescreen. It's not a crystal clear plastic, which is what's used on Prowl and Bluestreak and also Barricade. So Silverstreak and Smokescreen are the 2 versions of this mold that have the greatest amount of longevity due to the shades of clear plastic used on them being darker shades compared to the clearer shades used on Prowl, Bluestreak, and Barricade. Whether or not this mold is going to be used to make other molds, such as the shattered glass versions of any of these characters, is uncertain at this point. But with the bad reputation that the Earthrise Datsun mold has gotten with fragility of the clear plastic and breakage, Bluestreak here has people have gotten their copies of Bluestreak broken and shattered due to the plastic used on him being crystal clear here. So whether or not Hasbro and Takara release Silverstreak as a long shot to try and see if the mold could be used one last time, I honestly cannot say with certainty. But thank you guys all so much for watching, and until next time, stay safe, stay healthy. I recommend you get Silverstreak even if you have every other version of this mold, and until next time, you guys, transform and roll out. Goodbye, everyone.